Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Back for another sit down with Sam. I really need to get like an intro done, where it just comes in like the intro and then and I need to do better camera work apparently. Fucking hell. Uh, yeah, it's been a week. Literally been a week. Today is Wednesday again. I think it's probably gonna be doing a Wednesday thing instead of a Tuesday thing. I always get to Tuesday and I'm like, ugh, I need to record. And I know I have the entire week to do it, but it's not that simple. Uh, Mainly because my usual space of recording is now overtaken by the fact that my brother, due to this whole pandemic thing, is no longer at his centre daily. And the only day he does go out is Tuesday, and my lazy ass tends not to get up. I normally wake up around 11, which is bad. And that's the thing, I'm gonna fix it at some point. Um, this week has been kind of slow. Nothing's really built up. Nothing's really done. Haven't really done anything. I did last Saturday though. Saturday's just gone. Nathan and I did go see Tenet. So any film critics out there wanting to go see a really good film, you have to really be engrossed in it. You have to really follow the storyline. It's about a 2.5 hour movie, and it's definitely worth it, no doubt. But you have to stick to you can't get off on bathroom breaks, because there's so much that goes on and there's so much that's either going to happen or not, or hasn't happened yet. Whole point of the film, that if you was to get up and go out for like even 5 minutes, you're gonna not know the paragraph of the movie. But honestly, for one of the best films I've seen in recent years. And that's saying something for me, because I go to the cinema quite a lot. That's not what this podcast is about, by the way. I'm just doing a little rundown in the week. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently, and I'm trying to take a little bit of inspiration, but not also copy. So I'm giving you like a bit of a rundown. Sorry, that was pissing me off. I have my earphone in, and I'm just like, why do I have it in? But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and as I say, inspiration, not copying completely, but this week really hasn't, besides going to the cinema last week, I haven't done much, and that's my problem at the moment, is because I'm not doing anything. So I become very, what's the word? I know it's lazy, but unmotivated. No, I'm not motivated at all to pick up my phone and just sit there and talk about something. That's why I always take these drives out, because I'm gonna drive over here. I'm like, what am I gonna talk about today? And I mean, and I'll go past a few shops obviously, and then they start clicking in my brain like, well, there's this idea, there's that idea, and obviously today's idea is I'm gonna be talking about books. Now, obviously, it's not going to be that much of interest if you're not a book reader or a book lover, but my interest for... Hold on. Chest on. Shit. Did that last week. Left it on. Yeah, no, from a young age, I think about 6 or 7, I believe, I've always loved books. Anything I could get my hands on, anything I could read. But as I grew up, obviously, you kind of get out of the stage, you go from books to like technology, and I think it was about 11 or 12, maybe 11, because when I was in year 7, my teacher was like, all right, you have to do like book assignments, and at first I was like, ugh, whatever. Then I rediscovered my passion for books, and I came across one book which was like very different to what I'd been reading. I kind of very much like sci-fi. I much love the mystery. I love thriller sort of thing. So I got introduced to Darren Shan. He's a extraordinary writer, Like I love his I love his pieces of work that he's done. He's done like 9 books on vampires. Basically, is he used his name as a character in his books, and they literally turned my world inside out. That's it. I remember it because I managed to pick up a book with 1, 2, and like book 1, 2, and 3 in it, and it's Cirque du Freak, The Vampire's Assistant, and something else. I can't remember the first one, but those 3 books conjoined into one flipped me upside down. I was like, wow, the writing, the idea of something being this, it's like the whole graphic novel of him being the character, obviously, and then him going from him having to. The whole basis of the story is that they go to a circus. He's obsessed with spiders. There's a vampire there with a spider. He steals the spider. The spider then bites his best mate. Then, in order to save his best mate, he has to become the vampire's assistant. There is a film out with John C. Reilly in it. It is fucking dreadful. Do not even quote me. Feel free to quote me, sorry. It's fucking awful. When I found out they were making this film, I was so hyped. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. It's an hour and something of utter bullshit. Like, no, they ruined it. But I watched, I read 1, 2, and 3, obviously, and then when I got to the end of the 3rd book, I was like, alright, maybe that's it for a while. And then I remember, it was like, I fell off with that. Because like I didn't explore enough into the fact of there may be more. I just saw it as alright, that's the end of the books. So then I went on to another load of books called Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Lanley. Again, another prolific writer. It's about this detective who is a skeleton, as you can tell, skullduggery. And then it's all about him and this young girl called Stephanie something, but then she changes her name into Valkyrie, because in the book they say that you have a true name and you have your given name. Her given name was Stephanie, her true name is called Valkyrie. And then all the books are about is them two solving crime and saving the world and everything. And again, it is an amazing book. I read 1, 2, and 3, I believe, maybe even 4. Again, after 4, I didn't know they did more. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but that was kind of cool. I kind of fell off a little bit, and after 4, I kind of give up because I was like, oh, there's no more. Because he didn't write for quite a long time. I was like, is there another one coming out? And in this period of me reading the Skullduggery Pleasant books, I think I was on number 2 and number 3, one of the two, and one of my neighbours actually, I was speaking to him about books, obviously, and things that I liked, and then I was like, oh yeah, I've read Darren Shan. He goes, oh yeah, you read all of them, and I went, all 3? He was like, no, all 9. I went, there's more? And then my brain just went inside out. I was like, oh my god. And he was like, yeah, I've got them upstairs, so I'll give them to you. So he gave me, again, his books were like mine, so 1, 2, and 3 were together, 4, 5, and 6 were together, and then 7, 8, 9 were together. So he gave me 4, 5, and 6 to read first. And I did patches of reading from the Skullduggery Pleasant one to the back to the Darren Shan ones, and I was mixing in between, and then I finally finished. I got a time where I was just like, I need to finish Darren Shan because I needed to know what happened. So in the end, I finished Darren Shan, and I think that's kind of where my interest with Skullduggery Pleasant kind of flipped off, because I was so engrossed in what Darren Shan was about, and I needed to know the end of the story, because I'd kind of bunned it off for so many years. And then I kind of got I got to the end of number 6. Went around my friends. He gave me 789. I finished it. Absolutely loved it. And then at the it wasn't it was a I started getting back into the I finished all of the Darren Shan books. I was very disheartened when I read it, but I also loved the twist of what happened, because I was like, oh, this is great writing, but I'm just like, because he does, it's kind of a spoiler, but not also a spoiler. He manages to flip it in a sense where he reverts back to his first book, and it's one of those pieces of writing that, if you're a long-term fan of the books, you'll get the understanding of it. But if you're just reading it for the first time, you're just like, huh? I read it and I'm like, oh wow, I see what he's doing, and it's one of the most lucrative piece of writing it was so good. I loved it. And then it wasn't long after that I was getting back into the Skullduggery Pleasant, and the neighbour friend who lent me the book said, oh, do you want them? I was like, please. So in the end I got his copies of the books, and they became very useful for me, because like, for me, reading has always been an outlet because I can't do sports, because I can't do this, because I can't run, I can't do football anymore. I tried to do stuff when I was younger, but because there were so many things that I couldn't do, I stuck my head into a book. So reading for me was such an outlet of, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, and I would put myself into these worlds of imagining I was the character reading it, and it's like I am the character. So those books became like a safe haven for me, for when I'd go to hospital and places like that, or if I was going for appointments, like on the ride up there, I'd take a book with me. Nowadays, obviously, I've got my phone, so like I'll just listen to something, but listen, you can use either an audiobook, podcast, or music. But go back, I don't know, 6-7 years, maybe even longer. The drives up there are about, I don't know, hour and a half at best. Whether we're going to London, whether we're going on trains, and all those times it was just like, they managed to pass. As I was reading, it manages to pass the minutes away from me getting to there, and then when we get there, obviously you got to do the waiting game, of when you're going in, and doctors are never on time, obviously, so it gives you time to read, and it's such an exciting read every time I do read them back, because I obviously read, but I sometimes miss what I've read before. So I'll read it and I'll read it again, and I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that last pass. Maybe because I was so excited to read it the first time around that I may have skipped a few things, like my brain does. But that is just they were masterpieces in my mind. And then I remember I got to, this is all around the age of like 11 to 14, by the way. So then I got to 14, and then I don't know how I did it. No, I know how I did it. My younger brother, he brought home a book once called Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I've kind of always been obsessed with Greek mythology and that era. I don't know why, it's just always intrigued me. And the thing was, my favourite god was Poseidon. So looking back on it, I was like, I don't know. He came in and said, what he would do basically, he had to do reading books. I would tend to read the books for him, give him a rundown on the books, and then he'd go and get the credit for it. I didn't care, because I got to read books. He bought this book home once, that he bought from, I think it was Book Day. He said, I don't know what book to buy, so I bought this one. He brought it in, tossed it on the thing, and said, I'll read it if you want. So I did. Again, straight away, Rick Riordan, legend. The writing, the descriptive writing that he does, so beautiful. It was one of them books that grasps you from the very beginning, and the lucky thing with this book is that in the inside of the cover, they show you that they have, at the time they had 4 books out. So this was, I was 14, so I was like engrossed in these books. I remember going to the library. I would check out books in the library. I'd read them, send them back, then get a third one. And then I remember I was 15? Yeah, 15. And he came out with book number 5. And I was like, what? There's another book? And for me, obviously, back then, my all-time thing was you could either have paperback or hardback. And when the books first come out, they're always in hardback, so they're more expensive. Obviously, instead of them being $6.99, they're $12.99. I didn't care. I remember this book came out, and I was like, I need this book. So I managed to save up some money. I went and bought it, read it. I must have read that book, I don't know, 10 times over at least. In the first month of it being out. And then after that, it kind of died off of me. It kind of died off in a sense, because I didn't think anything else was going to come from his Percy Jackson stories. People must know there are films out about it. The films don't do the books justice at all. But luckily, there is going to be a Percy Jackson series coming on Disney Plus, which I'm super fucking hyped about. But the books are just magnificent. So after he did 1 to 5, it's literally The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, Titan's Curse, Curse and Labyrinth, and Hero of Olympus. And they're just like, oh, so good. They were my originals. They came probably number 1, and then it's Darren Shan, which is like a big thing for me, because obviously at the time I had Darren Shan on such a pedestal of like no one can touch him with his writing, and then Rick Riordan came in and was like, bitch, I'll fuck you over. I loved it. I just really loved the writing, the idea of Greek mythology, gods having children, like the human children, calling them demigods. It became such a passion for me that I was like, I really want to be engrossed in this. And then again, like I did, kind of switched off with the books, went on to technology, whatever, and then I can't remember why, but I was in a Smiths one day, and I see this book, and I pick it up, and it's called The Lost Heroes of Olympus. And I'm just like, the fuck? Because I see Rick Riordan's name on it. And I read the blurb on the back, and I'm like, what? Huh? So I pick it up and I read like the first couple pages, and I'm engrossed. And luckily this time it was on paperback, so it was cheaper. I read it and I'm like, I need to get this book. So I went and bought the book, went home, and these books were a lot more lengthier than the first 5. Which was why I was like, I don't know, there's more depth to these books. I don't know what he's done with this, but I kind of thought, well, after reading the blurb, it said the same thing about Greek mythology, and I'm like, alright, so he's maybe done another story involved, because I know he's done this before with the Egyptian. He did it with before he did the Heroes of Olympus. He brought out one with Magnus Chase and the Egyptian gods, and I was like, that's not my thing. No disrespect, it's just not my thing. I didn't find it interesting. I don't think I'd be interested in that sort of shit. So I was like, I'm done. That's cool. So after pondering on buying the book, I sat down, started reading it. Again, straight away, I'm engrossed. These new characters are being brought in. Old characters are being brought in as well. And then the highlight of the book is obviously the ending, because by this time the second book was out, but the third one wasn't out. So I managed to pick up the second book, which is Son of Neptune. And when I read that, and I'm like, Neptune? And obviously, as you read the book, what he did was very clever. Rick Riordan. He managed to integrate Greek mythology and Roman mythology into the first book, and all the first book on the Heroes of Olympus is about the Greek side of mythology, mixed in with a little bit of Roman because there's one character who is Roman, and then the second book is all about this new Roman camp with the original character Percy Jackson being brought in as like a hello, introducing you to the Roman camp. He's wiped off his memories, and then he has to find out who he is. But he's at this Roman camp, but he thinks he's Greek. So, and that's where obviously the son of Neptune comes in, because the Roman name for Poseidon is Neptune. The Roman name for Zeus is Jupiter. Ares, Roman name for Ares is Mars, and Pluto is Hades. But I just love the whole demographic of it all. It's basically for anyone to read, and there's things in it that you kind of don't pick up along the way straight away, and then once you reread it, or like I have done now, which I'll get into, which is I'd rather listen to a book than read it. I'll tell you in a minute why. But with these first couple books, I was like reading them. Then the third one came out, and that was The Mark of Athena, and that one was basically referring to another character from the Percy Jackson series. And what he did was with the first books. I'm sorry, this is jumbled. What he did with the first books, it was based mainly on Percy Jackson's story, his POV. With the Heroes of Olympus, he jumped from this character to this character, to this character to this character. Mainly strayed in the first Heroes of Olympus books. He mainly strayed from the first three important characters, which were Piper, Jason, and Leo. Second book, it was Percy, Frank, and Hazel. In the third one, obviously, there's a quest that they go on. They all have to join forces and everything. They mix up and they all go together, and again, it jumps from all of them, and including Annabeth from the Percy Jackson series. She becomes into that, and then obviously the last one is there was five. There was four. There was Olympus. I think there's only 4. I always thought there was 5. Perhaps I'm missing one, which would be really bad on my part. I swear there's only 4. I'm gonna look it up when I get home, but I think there's only 4. This is really bugging me because I should know if there's 4 or 5. No, there's 5. There is 5. I know there's 5. Because it's Mark of Athena. Yeah. There's the Lost Hero. There's the Sun Neptune. There's the Mark of Athena. There's House of Hades. And I can't remember what the last one is, which is bugging me. I'll find out when I get home, or when I finish this. But there are 5 books called The Heroes of Olympus. Again, magnifyingly amazing for what he's done. He managed to create this brilliant persona of Greek mythology mixed with Roman mythology, and I guess a lot of people asking different questions. Like, he's very active, like Rick Riordan's very active on Twitter about the questions he's done for his books. I see people asking him questions about the Percy Jackson series. I see people asking him questions about the Heroes of Olympus series of books. And it's nice to see someone like that, who's an author, who's humble enough to interact with his fans and give honest answers of what he believes he was doing when he wrote the book. But I'm not done there with Rick Riordan, because he's a true gentleman, as I say, he began writing another series of books after the whole last book, which I can't remember. Hold on, sorry, I had to cut it there because it was really bugging me what the last book was, because I literally have listened to this recently, and it's called The Heroes of Olympus. I was like, I'm not gonna get this. This isn't gonna bug me. This isn't gonna bug me. I'm like, no, I've got. So there's a little cut there that you're gonna get, but that's why. So yeah, after The Heroes of Olympus, at the end of it, obviously they have to defeat someone. I'm not gonna say who because I don't want to spoil it. But at the end of it, because of everything that's gone on with like the battles that have gone on, obviously, Zeus manages to try and blame someone, and due to this whole confumball things, he manages to blame Apollo, who is the god of the sun, prophecy, and music, and medicine, and among other things. But in doing so, he punishes him enough that he sends him down to Earth, and he's now mortal, which comes into the trials of Apollo, which I believe so far I'm very much I'm not as engrossed as I was with the Heroes of Olympus, but I'm engrossed as I was with the Percy Jackson series. And I say that because as I said, I rather listen to books now rather than read them, mainly because I get headaches quite a lot, and I don't wanna trigger any headaches. So I listen to them instead of reading them because it's a lot more easier for me. But it's a nice little thing for me to do before I go to bed. I'll listen to 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of the book before I fall asleep. And I get like a little insight of like what he's done with this book even. He's gone back to his original thing of, it's called The Trials of Apollo, so he's gone back to the one POV of Apollo. So you don't get the mixture of maybe Apollo, then this person, and this person, and this person. It's basically Apollo telling a story, but there are other people in it, which again I love. But I haven't found I haven't found anything that's grabbed my attention like these books have. Like with Darren Shan, I got hooked straight away. I know he has a zombie series, I think it is, and someone told me to look at it once, and I was like, I'll do it. And every time I've gone to go do it, I haven't done it. Mainly because I was so engrossed into the vampire side. I don't know if I would be able to disconnect myself from the vampire side and thrust myself into another character as the same way. Nevertheless, I may try it at some point. And obviously with the Rick Riordan books, obviously at the moment he's done 4 books. I'm on book number 3. I'm not that far into it, but book 1 and 2 are phenomenal. He's done 4. I'm on book 3, and there is a book 5 coming out, which comes out this year, which again I'll be buying on Audible. That's my main source of thing right now. Is I don't have that many luxuries anymore because there's nothing from. I don't technically go out enough to go and do stuff. So my one thing is like, I've got my Netflix, I've got my Disney Plus, I've got things I can watch, obviously. But as for listening and reading books, I usually buy books all the time. Now it's just a simple $8.99 out of Audible, and you get 1 credit, which is your little thing that you can buy books with. You can buy extra credits, but it's £18. And I've done it before, obviously, when I wanted to buy it, because what I normally do is I normally buy books in like stages, like bulk stages. So I did that with the Heroes of Olympus series. I had 2 credits set up, and I wanted to kind of get the last ones, so I bought 3 credits, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Got all the books, started listening to them, and then I started refining my love for books and my passion for them again, and I just got a whole whirlwind of amazement brought back into me. So yeah, if you like books as much as I do, feel free to give me anything in the comments. about what I can listen to slash read. Well, listen to because it won't be reading. But yeah, that's been the podcast for today. Next week will be probably a Wednesday again, but I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. But I'll think of something. And until then,